Okay, good morning. I'm sorry that I may have to be a little rushed. I will continue on the path of our leaving Mitzrayim on our way to Matan Torah. I am going to skip the war of Amalek because I figured I would use that before Parsha Zachor. I wanted to speak about Adar today, but I don't have the chance. I hope next week on Thursday, I will talk a lot about Adar and our responsibility and connected to Moshe Rabbeinu. So I'm going to go to Parshas Yisro because really this now, we left Mitzrayim in order to get to Kabbalat HaTorah, to Ma'amad Har Sinai. And we see in the Psukim very, very rich messages, extremely rich. Meeting Hashem requires a tremendous amount of preparation. You can't just come to the mountain and just meet him. It requires hachana. Now, really the lesson to us is as well that every mitzvah requires hachana. Every yontif, actually, the preparation starts at Rosh Chodesh, and it goes on the preparation until the actual holiday. I'm going to read you some of the psukim, and then I'm going to discuss some of the preparations and why they needed it, and the theme that runs through the hachana for Kabbalat HaTorah. Now, if you noticed, it's called Kabbalat HaTorah, Kabbalas HaTorah, Ma'amad Har Sinai, but it's really Kabbalas HaTorah. Why? Because they were mekabelet. Their hands were open and they were ready to accept it. It wasn't like God gave it to them. It wasn't that they were just standing there. They were ready to accept it. We too have to learn from that to be what we call a kli mekabel. You know, there are people who go, they listen to She'urim, or they hear someone, give them a little bit of musar or tochacha rebuke. And some people listen and some people it goes from one ear to the next. We all have to be vessels that are willing to hear whatever we have to hear. So listen to the psukim. I will read them in Hebrew because the Hebrew is what's beautiful. I will translate. The translation usually takes away. So God says to Moshe, Kotamar lebeis Yaakov, tell the women, the Tagil b'nei Israel. We once discussed this, that the women come before the men. The words that are used are very different because the woman is about the Mesorah, is about actually transmitting the Mesorah through her presence, through her doing. The man is different. He teaches the actual midakdek part of the mitzvos. And he says to them, Atem re'item, you saw everything that I did in Mitzrayim. I carried you on the like an eagle, and I will carry you. I will carry you like an eagle carries his babies. And this is the misconception, the misperception. People think that when Mashiach comes, God's going to carry us on an eagle, on his wings. That's not what this means. So many years and years of me teaching, all the girls think that that's exactly what's going to happen. And I will bring you to me. Meaning, hold on, somebody's calling. I am going to be like an eagle. The eagle, Rashi says, is different than the other birds. The other birds carry their babies between their legs because they're afraid of the birds on top of them. The eagle's different. He's not afraid of anybody. He carries his babies on his back. And he says, you're going to throw arrows, throw them at me so that my babies are protected. And that's what Hashem says. You saw everything I did. I'm going to carry you like the eagle. I'm going to put you on my shoulder because with the love that I have for you, and I will take, and I took, and I will continue to take the shooting arrows, and I will bring you to me. V'ata, and now, im shamoa tishma'u bikuli, if you listen and hearken to my voice, ushmartem es brisi, and you observe my bris, the assembly segula, you are going to be to me a nation that is treasured from all the nations. Kili kol haaretz, because the land belongs to me. V'atem tiyuli mamleches kohanim, you're going to be a nation of malachim and kohanim, goy kadosh, unique. Eila hedvarim, asher tedaber b'nei Israel. Look at the promise. Look at the promise that we get. It's not just me standing by Har Sinai and listening to all the rules. God is promising. And he says, if you begin to listen, you will continue to listen to my voice. This was one of the preparations of the Bnei Israel by Har Sinai. They already had to tune themselves in to the element of hearing. We're going to see that the theme of Shmiya goes through Har Sinai. Really, the theme of listening goes through our lives, right? We say Shema Yisrael every single day. In Shema we hear, V'haya im shamo tishmu, but what does this mean? He's promising them that if you begin to listen, you will continue to listen to my voice. So the Or Chaim says something absolutely beautiful. He says, when you listen to my voice, you will be zoche, you will merit to actually remove the Yetzer Hara from yourselves, and you will be a cherished nation for me. But there's something much deeper. If you listen to my voice, if you listen, you will begin to hear the deeper meaning of what I'm saying to you. You first have to listen. And when you start to listen and you listen carefully and you allow all the noise to be removed, you will begin to hear the internal message of my voice. What does kol mean? What is that? Kol is not just a voice. Kol is the deeper meaning. It's the prophecy, so to speak. It's the inner essence of what Hashem is telling us. That's a message for all of us. It's very nice to listen to shiurim, to read articles, to listen to inspiration, but we need to understand, we have to hear the message. We have to hear the inner message, even if it may be a little hurtful, even if it may be a little difficult. Even if the Gemara says, if I hurt my finger, I need to hear the message. It's not a punishment. Here we go again. There's a message. The message could be that maybe I have to do something more positive with my fingers today. Maybe I have to take my hands and reach out to somebody else. Could be. Very possible. You have to listen to the internal messages. He says, the Or Chaim says in such a beautiful way, listen to the Hebrew. He says, Im shamoa, if you listen now, ani mavtichachem, I promise you, ki tishmu me'atzmechem keshitita'amu te'ama, you will taste the taste of the music of the Torah. And then you will become to me, for me, a Am Segula. What is Am Segula? Rashi says it's a treasure. It's a stunning stone that kings hide. Ibn Ezra says it's davar nechbad v'nechmad. It's something so precious that nobody can ever find anything like that. That's who we are. That's what God promised us. And all we have to do is listen and internalize his message. And then you will become a mamleches kohanim. You will become royalty. What's a melech? A melech is someone who literally rules over his body, right? He's the ruler. We too can rule over our body, right? By the choice of words, by how I speak, by how I react. We can rule. But we're royalty. Do you understand, ladies? We're royalty. I tell this to my students all the time. Girls, before you leave the house, look in the mirror and ask yourselves, do I look like a queen? Do I look like a malka? Do I look like royalty? There is a halacha that Talmid Chacham cannot go out looking like a schlump or dirty. He needs to look like royalty. You will be like kings and kohanim. The Goy Kadosh, a unique nation. Look at who we are. Look at what he promises. And then he tells them to prepare themselves. And they begin to prepare. And he says, 3 days, prepare yourselves. Kiddash them, get yourselves ready. Wash your clothes. And you'll be ready by the 3rd day. And then the preparation. And we see throughout again, the thread of listening. He says, God's going to come down. You're going to make boundaries around the har. Vayered Moshe min har. It's going to come down. Everybody's going to be ready. Be ready for 3 days again. Pasuk after pasuk after pasuk about the preparation in meeting God. And it's all about making them unique, making them separate, making them understand you're different. You're different in everything that you do, the way you talk, the way you speak. Veheyu kitoshim, veheyu nechonim, and you're going to be ready. And everything that happens by this mountain is all about sounds. Kol shofar, the sound. They wanted to hear the voice of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We know that their, we know that their senses were elevated by Har Sinai. There were lots of sounds. There was the Kol HaShofar. there was the words that Hashem said, V'hayayim shemo tishma'u. Moshe yidaber. Elokim yanenu b'kol. There was a lot of different sounds going on because it was all about listening. The art of listening, the art of internalizing, that's which we hear. To hear the pnimius of the mitzvah. The pasuk says that on the third day they left Mitzrayim. It says, by Yom Hazeh, Ba'u Midbar Sinai, on this day. So yes, we know it means on this day that everybody has to feel each and every day as if they got the Torah. But no, Rav Shor says something different. The preparation for Matan Torah is hischachos, it's renewal. We need to feel every single day as if we got the Torah today. When I wake up in the morning and I say my Birchas HaTorah, I need to feel as if I got the Torah today. How do I do that? So Rav Shor says that when we connect to the pnimius of the Torah, then I feel as if I got it today. Hayayim shemoa tishmeu l'kol Hashem. Rav Hutner gives a story, a very, very beautiful story of two people who are stuck. They're actually stuck in a forest at night. And in order to survive the thickness of the darkness, one man figures out how to see in the darkness. The other one sharpens his hearing to be able to discern when the danger was approaching. So Rav Hutner says, which one was better? So he says that the second man was the Chacham because he possessed the skill to help him through his ups and downs, through the heartbeat of life. The Shema, listening to the knock of Hashgacha Pratis. When things happen around us, we need to listen. We need to hear it to understand that these sounds are tiny little messages. These sounds are the announcements of Hashem. I don't want to go into it. But that's the concept of Simcha. Simcha and Adar. When you listen to the messages behind the month, you take the month of Adar, and the astral sign is the fish, and the Shevet is Naphtali. I wasn't going to talk about Adar, but I guess Hashem just threw this in my mouth. The fish, the Shevet is Naphtali. You look at all the characters, unbelievable, amazing. Adar means, if you take the word and you split it, it's Aleph Dar. Aleph Dar. When I live Dar with the Aleph, when I put the Aleph inside of me, but that can only come through the Shmiya, through listening to the message. Because if you look at Adar, you see tremendously conflicting messages in Adar. On one hand, you have the Megillah, which is revelation. On the other hand, you have Esther, which is hiddenness. How can that be? Revelation, hiddenness. You have Naphtali, who's the Shevet. Naphtali was all about struggle. And then you have Simcha, Mishloch Manos. You've got all of contradicting. So the key is to take the contradicting messages and try to hear what it is behind it. I'm going to finish up very quickly with something that I read from Jonathan Sachs that he takes from the Navi. He says, some of you may know the story about Eliyahu. He wanted to confront all the false prophets of Baal, he takes them to Har Carmel, and he says there's a little test, and he tells them, everybody make your sacrifices and call on your gods and see if they answer. Nothing happens. The event proceeds. They prepare their offering. They call on their God. Nothing happens. They intensify their devotion. Still nothing happens. They begin to work. They go scream, yell. Nothing, nothing. So Eliyahu says to them, cry louder, maybe your God will listen. So what does he do? The trial's over. The trial is the end of his encounter with the false prophets. And he says to them, you see, Hashem Melech, Hashem Malach, Hashem is one. End of episode. That's it. Your gods aren't real. My God is real. See, he thought that this was the end of this story. But it seems that somebody upstairs wasn't very happy with how he ended this story. So the false prophets want to go get him. They run after him. He hides. He finds himself on Mount Sinai, Har Chorev, and all of a sudden God comes to him. And he tells Eliyahu to stand on the mountain. And he stands on the mountain. And suddenly there's a great and powerful wind that tears the mountains apart and shatters the rock. God is not in the wind. Then there's an earthquake. God's not in the earthquake. Then there's fire, but God's not there either. After the fire comes a still, small voice. God is in that voice. My voice. There are many ways of translating the Hebrew phrase for a still, small voice. Some say a gentle whisper. Some say the sound of final silence. What is it? So listen to what he says. I suspect that what God was saying to Eliyahu was this: your trial was based on error. The prophets believe that God is power. You showed them that I am a great power. Maybe, perhaps, but that's not really what I am. That idea that God is power is pagan. God does not impose himself on mankind. On the contrary, he's like a parent. He creates space for his children to grow. He's always there, but only if we seek him. His word is ever present, but only if we listen. Otherwise, we do not hear it at all. God is the music of our lives, but there are times when all we hear is noise. Noise, 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 noise. The true religious challenge is to ignore the noise and focus on the music. Shema Yisrael. V'haya im shamoa tishma'u bikoli. The point of this class is this is our preparation in life to be able to listen, to be able to hear, to be able to internalize the message. And everybody takes their own message. That's okay. They say, Rashi says that Vayiru et hakolot, they saw the sounds, meaning they were able to see inside of themselves what they needed. They were able to see what they needed. That was the elevation, the level that they were on. For us, we can also see and hear what is needed. But mostly, v'haya im shemo tishmu b'koli. If we begin to listen, he promises us we are going to feel and hear and taste the beautiful taste of each and every message. Tomorrow is Adar. It's Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh is hischatshus, renewal. The only way we can renew, like Rav Shor says, is to go inside and to listen to the messages. And that's what brings simcha. What does simcha mean? Take the word, she-macha, to erase. When we erase the noise, when we erase the internal noises, the things that take us away from what we're really supposed to be doing and thinking and hearing, when we erase all the doubts and everything else, we erase the clatter, the chatter, that's what brings us to simcha. And then Adar, Hashem, and me, we can live together. Have a wonderful Chodesh, a wonderful day. See you next week.